Let's move over to this now. The South African Nuclear Energy Corporation is forging ahead with plans to replace a 56-year-old reactor. This has been in operation since 1965 and is scheduled for decommissioning in 2030. The replacement will ensure South Africa remains one of the leading countries in scientific and medical research. Let's bring in the CEO, Loyiso Tyabashe, for more on this. Thank you so much for your time. Loyiso, we do appreciate this. I think many are confused, as am I. Maybe just explain to us the purpose of, or what this multi-purpose reactor actually does and the need to replace it.
Thank you very much, Heidi, and good evening to your viewers. The reactor that you've spoken about is indeed a reactor that was commissioned in 1965 and is nearing its tail end of its life. However, with the work that we have done, we've foreseen that we will be able to operate for slightly longer, obviously allowed by the National Nuclear Regulator. But dovetailing with that is to commission a new reactor, which is the multipurpose reactor. And its intent is really to make sure that we keep our footprint in the nuclear research fraternity, as well as be able to produce the medical isotopes as well as the industrial isotopes that are going to be used quite fruitfully for society going forward. So our intent is to make sure that we have this reactor operating and we keep into the body of knowledge of the nuclear space as well as into the isotopes sphere.
Great. But maybe speak to us about the kind of costs involved to replace this, and what exactly you are hoping to achieve in terms of revenue that will be generated once this is replaced.
Thank you. The costs are actually what we have set out to achieve. As a matter of fact, today we have issued out a request for information into the market space to ascertain several parameters related to the project, to the scope, to also the cost of the actual project itself, as well as the funding mechanisms that can be there. So that as we receive that information, when the request for information on the RFI, when it closes in 30 days' time, we are in a position to build on our case and forge ahead, understanding exactly what the market can offer. So the funding mechanism and the funding approach is really dependent on the information that we'll be getting through the request for information.
Speak to us about, in terms of employment opportunities that this will actually create. I do understand that you've mentioned how this is actually going to create some 1,000 full-time jobs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the jobs that we set out to create, and we have got great experience from the current reactor that is operating, in that people who are directly involved with Safari is just below 1,000, and we hope to achieve the same. And indirectly, people supporting that in terms of maintenance and other related things as it pertains to the running of the reactor for its 60-year life is in the order of 2,500. And there are tertiary jobs that are created beyond that, and you understand the multiplication factor of that we're talking in the order of about 10,000 tertiary jobs that can be created in this. So this really will benefit South Africa both at the construction phase of the project, wherein we require ordinary skills like your builders and people who are in the electrical field, not nuclear physics as a starting point, but normal construction of any huge infrastructure project. Graduating into a sphere of operations, which is a 60-year life, and beyond that, we have to decommission the plant. So we are really looking at the huge socio-economic benefit for this kind of a project, in addition to what the reactor itself will be producing, which is the isotopes, which we get to sell quite profitably as we speak today through one of our subsidiaries into the global market as well as the local market.
Great. I think that's definitely some welcomed news, because we do know what our unemployment rate is currently sitting at. But Loyiso, maybe just speak to us. I want you to just try not be too scientific for me, because this is all very scientific. But maybe tell us how long this multi-purpose reactor is going to take to build. Do we have the necessary means here to do so, or are we going to rely on international expertise, or how is it actually going to work?
Yes, the planning sphere or the planning domain of this kind of a reactor takes anything from around 2 to 3 years, wherein once you've decided to go out and start the actual construction in line with the other licenses that you might have applied for in the form of the environmental impact assessment licenses, typically to construct this reactor takes anything from 4 to 7 years and commission. So effectively, we're talking about a maximum, I would say, 8-year period wherein we should have everything done and the reactor commercialized. However, the market information that we've gone out today to request from the market will further refine that planning, because right now we're still working with the estimates that are very, very high level, not informed by the market and the vendors themselves speaking to us. So the RFI will help us in that domain. But at the outset, in terms of the construction, we really require ordinary skills. The design of the reactor itself obviously takes into account that this reactor is dealing with nuclear material, and it has to be designed stringently in line with the national nuclear regulator requirements. However, beyond that, to construct, when we're starting to dig the ground, we need your ordinary diggers, heavy haul equipment that will dig the ground, the guys that are going to be doing the foundations, the formwork, and everything like that, the concrete works as well. It's ordinary people that have built such huge infrastructure projects. We've seen this country has got the capability. We will require those skills in the civil engineering sphere predominantly as we construct the project. As we commission it, we move now into the mechanical engineers, ordinary mechanical engineers. They don't need any nuclear experience, and electrical engineers and materials engineers. And the component that talks to the nuclear aspect of these reactors really talks to it at the design, at the manufacturing in the factories, as well as when you start to operate it. So it's not an exclusive domain. It allows for all the people with the relevant skills in terms of construction and operation to be really, really involved in this project.
And just tell me, Loyiso, just lastly, I do understand that you guys are in collaboration with the Departments of Mineral Resources and Energy, and maybe just explain to us how this is going to help you guys become a game changer and one of the top in terms of efficient research from this reactor.
The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy has actually been instrumental as our shareholder in getting us to the stage that we are in. You'll recall that we had the cabinet approving the start of the project or setting up of the project in September last year. This has really given us the momentum. So we're working hand in hand with our shareholder and with the support that we're getting from the shareholder. The current reactor that we have is also a multipurpose reactor because it allows for multiple things to be done, namely the nuclear research, the irradiation of some materials. But this reactor that we are looking at acquiring is actually at a much bigger scale than what we have in terms of its capability. And the intent really is to put us at the forefront. At this point in time, I can tell you now that we are amongst the top 4 global producers of nuclear isotopes, nuclear medical isotopes. And these isotopes are really used for cancer detection and cancer treatment. And that is actually, with the MPR, it will put us even in a much better position because it will allow us to do so many other things and increase the body of knowledge in the nuclear domain.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. I think I have some idea of what you guys are doing, but I'll leave it to you guys because you clearly are more, you have a better idea of what to do. So thank you so much for that clarity. We do appreciate it.